Hey YouTube, I'm back again with another video, this time on specific tips for the ACT English section. So sorry about the glare, the lighting is really bad in my room right now because it's not exactly daytime, but I still wanted to film this video because I didn't get to post it on Wednesday like I planned. So it's coming out on Thursday now, which you obviously know just by seeing this video. So, ACT tips? And here we go. So I wanted to talk about the English section specifically. In this section I got a 35 on the last test and also the test before that, and I'd like to think that I'm a pretty reliable source for scoring high on this section. First, I want to say one very big tip that I can give you for this section is just be familiar with grammatical rules. Pay attention to things like subject-verb agreement. So if you have a plural subject, make sure your verb is also plural. So you don't say something like the boy go and instead say something like the boy goes. So always pick answers where the subject and the verb numbers agree. Another thing to keep in mind is independent and dependent clauses. Independent clauses are parts of a sentence that can stand on their own if taken out of that sentence. So they're basically full in structure. They have a verb, a subject, and basically, a subject and a predicate. That's what I meant. So another thing to keep in mind is redundancy. So a basic rule that you can keep for the ACT English section, for this part at least, is to not be extra. So for example, I saw in one of these test prep books, there's a question where it's like, the age remains and endures. You don't have to say remains and endures, you can just say remains, and it basically means the same thing. So don't repeat things, try to boil it down to as concise as possible, and that's generally the right answer. So I know one thing that a lot of people struggle with on this section is how to solve the analytical questions. Well, not really analytical, but organizational questions. So these are the questions that are like, where does this paragraph go? Where would it be best? Where would this sentence be better? Should this author add a paragraph here or not? So the way to answer the organizational questions is to see if the additions are going in the same direction, or basically if it flows, if you know what I mean, just with the content. So if you keep in mind what the story means, make sure it's going in the right direction, that you're not just going off a whole new tangent that's just totally random. So if you're talking about a story about like buying fish at the store, you shouldn't include something about a famous fish because that's totally unrelated to the rest of the plot. Another thing to keep in mind is the sequence of events. So make sure it follows in chronological order. So if the characters in the story are doing one thing and another thing later, make sure that second thing comes later, if that makes sense. The last thing I think you should keep in mind during this section is punctuation uses. So most specifically, the semicolon, the em-dash, the Oxford comma, and the colon. So the semicolon is used when there are two independent clauses, so two complete thoughts on each side of the semicolon, but they're somewhat related. So it's kind of like using comma and, but they're like, it's not really in addition to, like they're still two separate things, but they're kind of related in topic. The em-dash is basically the ACT's form of parentheses. So if there's something that is related to the topic, but also very, very separate, where you feel like you should put in parentheses as like background information or something like that, use an em-dash instead. The dreaded Oxford comma. So the Oxford comma is basically something in lists. So when you're writing out a list and you're getting to the second to last, part of the list, you use comma and. So basically it's like list, comma, and list. And lastly, the colon. The colon takes the place of any verb and introduces a list. So it's like saying, instead of saying my grocery shopping list is blank blank blank, you can just say my grocery shopping list, colon. Alright? So those are my tips for the ACT English section. Hope that helped. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And I'll see you in my next video. Sorry I uploaded this late. And sorry for the bad lighting and glare. Alright. Watch my other videos. They'll probably be linked somewhere in this video. So yeah, thanks.